Graphs of cosine and sine functions. Guys, I'm just going to need you guys to turn to page 402 in your textbook. And what I'm looking for here is these objectives. Graph transformations of sine. So those are the 5 objectives. What I'm going to need you guys to do is read the book and take notes. Now when you take notes, remember, you're going to take notes on what you think is important, okay? And yeah, all of it's important, but if you forgot something, you may want to write it down as you're reading through this. For example, the sine function has a period of 2 pi. That's important, guys, so we need to write that down. That means that if you look at the graph, well, 2 pi, if you start here at 0 radians, you get back to 2 pi, you go 1 full time around the circle. That's 1 cycle on the sine function. And so that is 1 period. And then it kind of just starts all over again and keeps on going. Same thing going the other way. As you can see down here, it's expanded out. So I want you to take notes. I'll be checking these notes. You don't have to write down all these properties, but read them. And if there's something in here that you didn't know, write it down to reinforce that learning. Okay? Take a look at the examples. Looking at parameter changes. Okay? And then over here, objective 2, graph transformations of cosine functions. Again, your reading here is 1 period for cosine, starting at 0 radians and going to 2 pi radians. So the period for cosine is 2 pi as well. Okay, looking at increasing and decreasing, where does the function decrease? Where does the function increase? And remember, we use x values for those intervals. And since at the top it doesn't increase or decrease, we don't include 0. So we use parentheses if you're using interval notation. And it goes to pi. And so we would put parentheses on pi, because at the very bottom it's not increasing or decreasing, so we don't include it. Okay, moving on. Make sure you're reading all of this, studying it, thinking about it. Okay? Someday in college, this is what you're going to need to be able to do. Graphing variations of cosine using transformations. You get your left and right, your up and down, your stretch and compress. Again, on this side, looking at example 4. Now this one's tricky because notice there's a horizontal compression because the x is being multiplied by 3. Now this is just the opposite of vertical compression. Remember, vertical compression comes out front, and if it was 3, it'd be a vertical stretch. We talked about this before, if you remember. Okay, read about sinusoidal graphs. Okay, make sure you're taking notes. Determine the amplitude and period of sinusoidal functions. And continue reading. At the very bottom, there's some important information. The amplitude is absolute value of A. The period, you take 2 pi divided by omega. Now notice omega is that number in front of the x. So before it was 3x. So the period would be 2 pi over 3. Now here, someone has put the parameter changes in for you. We have A, that was your vertical stretch, vertical compression, times sine of omega times x minus h plus k. Remember, k is up and down, H is left and right, it's the opposite. And remember, if this is greater than 1, we have a horizontal compression. If it is less than 1, but greater than 0, then it is a horizontal stretch. All right, I think we can stop there. I think that's going to give you enough. Make sure you look at example 5 and go ahead and stop at number 4. Okay? See you tomorrow, hopefully.